welcome to the Elk Lodge podcast, Paul.
Thanks, Christine.
I'm your host, Christine.
And I'm your other host, Paul. And we're here, and it's us. And we're
And once again, I found a pair of your socks hanging out under the table. What's with the socks these days? Why am I finding them all over the house? What's the story?
I mean, I come from outside.
Okay.
And I sit down. Can you turn my headphone up a little bit? I think it's 2. No, on the knobs. Number 2. Yeah. Check. Yeah. That's great. Well, I come in from the outside, and then I find myself sitting somewhere, and I go, I could be barefoot right now, and I take the socks off.
I see. Where are the shoes, though? There's no shoes alongside the socks.
The shoes come off right when I walk in the door.
Okay.
And then there's a second stage of comfort, and it's, by that, a time has passed, and I'm distanced from shoes, and socks come off.
Well, I can't really hold that against you.
But it's a bit much.
I'm glad you're just wearing shoes.
I've noticed.
There was a time when that was all I wanted in this world.
I've noticed it myself. By the way, this episode is brought to you by Bac Whiskey. They're an official sponsor.
Yes, our dreams are coming true.
So what happened tonight, we were at a party, a really wholesome, nice community get-together.
It was.
And there's a woman over there, and Christine goes, that's the Del Bac.
That's the Del Bac lady. I don't know her yet, but I don't know her that well.
She's Miss Del Bac.
Her name's Amanda.
Princess Del Bac. And so eventually we just kind of started talking, and I was like, you do fucking Del Bac. Like, we love your fucking whiskey. Like, we're obsessed with it. It's amazing. It's the greatest. And she goes to Christine, she's like, I've seen your podcast. I love your podcast. And we're like, what?
Like, come again?
You
listen to us?
Our podcast has been pretending that you're a sponsor for just about the whole time.
Oh,
So anyway, pretty soon we're going to get Amanda on the show.
that was so cool.
And there's no official sponsorship for the record, but
We can pretend,
But we've begun, and actually our pretending is that much more real. I mean, we're
Seriously.
5,000% more real.
We've been so delusional that we've caught up to delusions.
Yes.
We brought our diz to delusion. I don't know. There's something in it, but we're there.
Distilled and
Yeah.
it's distilled and it's delusioned.
Yeah.
But we're making it. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers to you.
What a fun day we've had.
Yeah, we had one of those Tucson days that you don't really get outside of Tucson. I've said it ad nauseum. But like today, there was like a block party in this one area of Tucson. So they close off the streets. There's people riding around bikes everywhere.
Kids spraying people on the hose with
there's
the hose
a kid
as
just
they rode
standing
by.
at the road, just hosing people down. And I was like, I don't know, I'm sure someone in LA is getting this type of experience. Someone in LA has this much community, this much of that.
It wasn't us though.
But we didn't have it.
No.
And here it was like, I don't know. I don't picture us like standing in the road, hosing strangers down with like a garden hose, and people coming over, and we're sitting on a front porch drinking and talking about life and politics and everything.
And like that multi-generational fun too,
Yeah,
there
there's
was
high
like,
schoolers, and
there was high schoolers, there was kids in preschool, there was grandparents. It was sort of all over the place and in a really nice way.
yeah, so there's a real, I don't know. I love Tucson.
Yeah.
Happy to be here.
I know. It's very nice to feel a part of a community like that. I didn't realize how much I missed it until I become reabsorbed in this, And a lot of people today that were there, that they've seen me grow up in a lot of ways. Like, I came to Tucson when I was 18, and I really came to age here. And so many people saw me that were in that room today, saw me graduate college, saw me get my first jobs. I nannied their kids. I taught their kids in preschool. And a lot of them were like, just welcome home, And it's just so sweet. It just feels really good to kind of get that like spiritual hug, that welcoming back.
It's cool
really
to run
nice.
into people, and they're like, I heard you were back. Like,
Yeah.
I just always love hearing that. And then, you're right. Like, you taught their children.
Yeah.
So many people in this town, you helped raise their children. Like, it's a big deal,
Yeah.
And there was a kid today, probably 17 years old now.
Yeah.
Shows up in a car to pick up some other teenagers that are at the party. and they just kind of see you, and there's like a little double take, and she just like drifted to you, and she's like, who, like, why do I know your face? I know you so well, but I don't know who you are. And you were like, I'm Christine, and I taught you in preschool. Like, it was really powerful.
Yeah, that was really sweet.
I don't know. I love it. I'm really honored to be like I'm that girl's husband, you know, like it's cool.
Yeah, it's really special. I've never experienced this kind of energy anywhere else. And I think it's that sort of like je ne sais quoi that you can't quite describe. You know, you can't quite articulate exactly what it is. At least I can't. That sticks out so much to me about Tucson. But it's always been that. It's always been that energy. And it is just the small town feel. And I feel very seen here. I feel like things are just so accessible. You know, I can be, I think it's human nature to be hard on yourselves, but like we've only been here a couple months and already like 2 of the jobs that I said I wanted to get when I got back here, I now have. And it feels very cool to, you know, like it's not just a pipe dream. It's like happening now. And I've been really enjoying it. And
yeah.
I don't know. It's nice to step back and kind of remind myself like, hey, that was what you wanted and now you're here. And yeah, there's still other hills to climb and like other goals to reach and all that, but coming along, which is pretty cool.
It's cool.
Yeah.
All right. So outside of the local Tucson,
sure.
What's in the news? Let's talk about the news.
News.
What's going on with Puff Daddy? What's the deal with this guy? Is he is he awesome or not?
What do you mean, is he awesome?
I always thought he was pretty cool. Is he not?
Oh, geez, Paul. No, nothing about him is cool.
Huh. But you didn't think he was cool? Like growing up, you weren't like, oh, Puff Daddy. Like that's like a... Never in like the 90s or early 2000s, you thought of like...
You know who my guy was? Ja Rule. When Ja Rule was doing the J-Lo stuff, I was like, fuck yeah, Ja Rule.
Yo,
I never
kiss,
was like...
Yo, smile.
Exactly. I was into that. I never once was like, yeah, P. Diddy, you're my guy. Never felt that way.
But if you heard like, oh, this fucking bitch got to go to a party at Puff Daddy's house, you'd be a little jealous. You'd be like, fuck this girl.
I'd be like, yeah, of course she did. That's what she does. She's a fucking Hollywood star.
She's a hooer.
I wouldn't be like jealous, no.
So what exactly are the charges against Puff Daddy? Do you know?
I mean, they just seem to keep coming, but a lot of rape charges, a lot of, I think like kidnapping charges, because he would like hold people against their will. He deprived them of food, drugged them. There's all sorts of charges coming out. He videotaped people against their will or without them knowing. There's a lot of things that are that are going to be a problem for him.
According to ChatGPT, Sean Puff Daddy Combs faces serious charges in federal court, including racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking by force.
Can't do that.
Sex trafficking by force versus sex trafficking by
volunteerism.
By volunteer, yeah. Anybody want to be sex trafficked? Hello? Front row? Nobody? In the back? You, sir. No, not you. Not you. You.
No, only taking volunteers this time.
Yeah.
I'll come back and take you against your will next week.
Next time. We're looking for sex traffickers by volunteer. Fraud, coercion, transportation for purposes of prostitution. So he was shipping girls around to prostitute them. These charges stem from an alleged criminal enterprise that reportedly exploited and abused women over more than a decade. Prosecutors claim that Combs, alongside associates within his business empire, engaged in various criminal acts such as forced labor, kidnapping, bribery, and obstruction of justice. The indictment also details alleged events where Combs organized freak-off gatherings. I like that, the freak off. Yeah. It's a buzzword in all these articles.
It's
the freak
like
off.
They shouldn't have said that though, because he clearly like worked hard to craft that branding, and I feel like it's kind of a win for him that it's still resurfaced. Like it resurfaced.
Freak off is like it's a household name.
Like
now.
I would have butchered it slightly and like gotten it wrong,
freak
so that
up.
when he saw, it would have been like the freak up is still, and he would have been like,
it's a
freak off. God damn it. You know, just like really stick it in there. Why do you got to give him credit for his fucking white themed parties.
It's a good thing we made all those shirts
Yeah,
for the freak offs.
seriously.
They involved women and male sex workers in activities that he controlled and often recorded. It's reported that he used intimidation, violence, and financial leverage to manipulate victims, including threats of releasing sensitive recordings if they didn't comply with his demands.
But that's the ironic part, because he recorded so much, and now that's actually the evidence. Like he held this to
Right.
use as blackmail against other people, and now that's going to be a lot of the proof and do him in is like how much video evidence there is of all of his misdoings.
So how do you think this came about, right? It's Puff Daddy, young kid, grew up with nothing. Okay, I'm getting a little shit going. I mean, how did he rise to power? Was he like, I don't know if he ever sold drugs. He started
Honestly,
working for
I
a
don't
record label when he was like a
know, but-
teenager, right?
Frankly, Paul, I'm not sure I care. He's a bad man. I don't think he deserves to be talked about right now.
Okay, what do you want to talk about? Nuns? Should we do an expose on
Talk about
nuns?
Mother Teresa.
She was actually turned out to be a huge bitch. Have you heard
Perhaps.
that? People don't like Mother Teresa. Some people.
I just think he's a piece of shit. What's there to dive into? I hope he fucking rots in jail forever.
Well, you don't think that there's like a human story here where a young boy raised in complete poverty rises so high to the top he becomes the man to a point of a villain and sort of everything that's wrong with society.
No, because I think if he was a good guy and all those things were still true, he would have used his position of power for good, and he would have gone back to his community and helped give other people a leg up, and he would have mentored people, and he wouldn't have exploited his power or abused the young men and women that he did, and it would have been a happy story.
So he's kind of like a sociopath.
Sure seems
probably
like
the
it.
whole time.
Sure seems like it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not pro Puff Daddy. I'm just saying
No, I
this
know
is
you're
like
not.
it's perhaps a study of human nature, like that, and American culture, that a kid can be born sort of a zero, very low class.
It's a harsh way to describe anyone. Is anyone a zero?
I'm saying by society's standards, I don't see them as a zero, but I'm saying that there is status and class in American culture. It's not good, but there is. We live in a classist
anyone is a
society.
zero.
Yeah, but you know what I mean when
Do
I say. Okay, let me rephrase it.
What do you mean?
Let me rephrase it.
Because he's born poor, he's a zero?
Yeah, by a certain, like, not. I don't think he's a zero. This is not fair.
You do?
This is not fair. Like, if you say someone is held back by society, you're not holding them back. You don't consider them a lesser person, but they're in a position where they're held back. There is a larger machine. You're aware of it. You'd be a fool not to say that person's probably held back. So a black kid born in New York in a poor community has a leg down.
Yeah, disadvantages or challenges.
Disadvantages.
Certain specific challenges for sure.
And by a standard of some people are born at an advantage, he is starting basically at zero.
See, I don't look at that as any metric of self-worth.
No, not self-worth, not his value as a human. But
But that's what you're saying, that he's at a zero?
We're talking in the, okay.
And that somebody born into a wealthy family in Winnetka, Illinois is at 100? No.
You don't think they're starting at an advantage?
Advantage, sure.
Okay, and let's say we were just giving arbitrary numbers to the, like,
for what?
quantifiers.
You're gonna value? I think there should be zero designation of self-worth at all. All humans are equal.
Yes. But are you not aware that some people are born at an advantage than other people?
Sure.
So let's say we were to put that on a scale and we gave numbers to that scale.
I object to your scale. I don't think there's a reason to rank people in that way. That doesn't make sense to me.
You're missing the whole point. I'm not saying anything about his value as a human being. Everybody is equally valued.
And he's a real piece of shit.
Prince William's kid, just as valuable as Puff Daddy the day he was born.
Sure, exactly.
Of course. Now, separate from that, there's economic status, class advantage that some people are born with. Elon Musk, if he had a child today.
Several with lots of different women, and they all hate him. Go on.
Interesting. So having a child out of marriage is a negative?
No, I just think
we're looking down on people for having children.
No, I think it's interesting that he's like a poster case for conservative values. Meanwhile, he has like multiple children with multiple wives, and a lot of his children think he's a terrible human. His ex-wives do too, and it's just interesting point of.
I'm only using him as an example because he's the wealthiest man alive, that we know of, measurably. He has a kid. That kid, no matter what, no matter who they are, no matter how smart they are, they're born with advantage on the spectrum of born with advantage. And there, somewhere right now in the world is a child being born who is on the bottom end of that spectrum of advantage. Yes?
Okay.
Now let's just quantify this advantage. Let's say Elon Musk, being the richest man in the world, will give that kid a 100. If you and I have a kid, they're probably like a 15, 20. In the societal...
It's generous, but okay.
Sure. No, I mean, in the world, we're some of the richest people in the world, you and I. We're the 1% on the planet Earth.
I didn't.
It's true.
No, tell that to my bank account. I didn't realize that.
It's true. Even you, as a teacher, we're probably making 1%.
As a teacher, I lived at the poverty line for many years.
In America, but I'm talking about on the planet Earth.
Yeah, perhaps.
Let's find it out, actually. I don't know.
I made like $20,000 a year. So
on planet Earth,
pretty much
how much money
line.
do you have to make to be in the top 1% of financial earning?
What you got?
But my point is, Puff Daddy would have been born on the lower end of that spectrum. Hence the 0 that I allotted to his economic status at birth.
So where were you going beyond this detour?
There's just probably an interesting study of how does somebody in America go from that, born in poverty, to like massive, he's a billionaire, criminal enterprise, and being brought down by the very machine that he sort of found his way through, you know?
It feels like, unfortunately, a lot of that is exploitation of other people, resources and things that allow people to claw their way to the top of those structures.
According to ChatGPT, I was wrong. To be in the top 1% of earners globally, an individual needs to earn around $500,000 annually. However, this figure can vary depending on different studies and economic fluctuations. In the U.S., for example, the income threshold to reach the top 1% is approximately $700,000.
Yeah, so not quite, but maybe one day. Maybe one day. But it does, I think, more interesting in this little thought process here is like, I believe his name's Sam Harris. Are you familiar with Sam Harris's work? Mm-hmm. Philosopher, spends a lot of time thinking. More time than I do. He's very interested in the concept of free will. And do we have it or do we not?
Let's go.
And I think I struggle with this sometimes because, you know, perhaps what you're getting at is that as a person who's born into poverty, you know, you have certain factors working against you. And so you do certain things to try to get ahead. And, you know, it's often with criminals too, right? Like if you're sexually assaulted as a child, you're statistically more likely to commit a sexual assault on a child again, right? Those cycles repeat themselves. Mm-hmm. And so it's like if you were a victim of sexual assault and you didn't get societal support, therapy, intervention, community resources, family structure didn't rally behind you to help you heal from that trauma, and then you committed sexual assault on a child, did you really have free will, or are you a product of the circumstances that led you to this realm in the beginning, like in the first place, you know? So it's kind of...
What do you think?
I don't know. I think it's weird. You know, I I don't think criminals shouldn't be held accountable for their actions or anybody.
Okay.
But I do think it would be a disservice to not take into consideration those factors. Like the Hernandez brothers? Menendez? What are those? Menendez brothers, they were wildly abused, sexually, physically, emotionally abused as children. And eventually they killed their parents. I'm not really familiar. I didn't watch the Netflix documentary, but from all accounts,
it's like a scripted show, but I haven't seen it.
Oh, I thought there was a couple, or maybe there's a second one. I don't know. But it's like, in a lot of ways, it's like, of course that happened. Of course they snapped. Of course they acted in self-defense to get themselves out of the situation when society failed them. So I don't know. It's a tricky one. I don't know exactly when you should keep it in consideration versus when you throw it away. Like, I don't know. It's tricky.
It's tricky. I think compassionately, you should never forget that. Like, you should have compassion for people like the Menendez. Like, wow, they were abused. How do you expect them to end up? What are they supposed to do? And to act like you would be any different. You have no idea what it's like to be them.
So yeah, like if P. Diddy was like, oh, I grew up really poor and I never knew where my next meal was coming from. And then I heard that he was like, withholding some taxes or having like a scarcity mindset around money. I'd be like, I kind of get it. Like he never really knew financial security or stability. And he always sort of felt unsafe in that way. And so it makes a little sense that he like took a little off the top and like didn't fully report his income or something like that. I could have empathy for that.
For tax evasion.
For a little tax evasion. But for what he did, no.
But
and then conspiracies get worse and worse. Like I've seen things about how he had elaborate tunnel systems under his house and that they go to all these different celebrities' homes and he could just like flee and escape and smuggle humans. I mean, it's pretty gnarly stuff.
I've also heard like, it wasn't just rappers at these parties. Like every now and then it's a mayor, it's a senator.
Oprah.
And he's got videos of them too. Really powerful people.
Yeah.
And eventually those powerful people get together and say, like, we got to bring down Puff Daddy and we got to go in there and destroy those tapes. But I think compassion, I still think it's really important. Like, but coupled with personal responsibility. And like, it feels like they can't exist at the same time, but they can. Like, I have compassion for the Menendez brothers. You grew up abused. That would have been awful. I might have done the same thing you did, but there's a personal responsibility you have for what you did. Mm-hmm. I think maybe for Puff Daddy, grew up poor. These things happen like inch by inch, right? So he did this, he did that. It's a little more. Let's do a little more. Oh, let's use this. Oh, I'm sure he was abused or manipulated or like bad people like worked against him at certain times where he said, okay, I got to do this doesn't make it okay. Doesn't eliminate his personal responsibility. You still go to jail when you're caught. Like it's bad to do, but there's still compassion that like, I understand what you did. I think to go to an extreme, like Nazi Germany.
I knew we were going to go to the Nazis.
I have compassion for people who became Nazis in Germany and said, this is like the world led them to that. But there's still personal responsibility that within society, even though society created that, it's also society's job to fight it, squash it, punish it, and expel you from society and put you in jail, Like, I think it's a really hard line to draw. It's really subtle. It's really confusing and also completely subjective. When is it okay? When is it not okay to do certain things? And
think,
when do we have
though-
enough compassion? And when does it get to a point where it's your fault? When is it like, oh, but yeah, he had really shitty parents. And so, of course, you beat up that person. But you beat up a person. That person didn't deserve to be beat up. You're going to jail. And like,
Yeah, I
I
feel
understand
like,
what led
though-
you there, but also it was wrong to do what you did.
Yeah. I don't know. I think like, so many values and things. It's hard now, especially as we're like gearing up for this election that's, really close. And you have all these people who you know and love who are now potentially sitting across this really great divide politically from you. And you're like, I know you're still a good person, but like, what the fuck are you possibly thinking? Like,
And that's what they're thinking about you.
yeah. But the difference, I think, to me is like, you should always know hurting somebody else is like the line, like your values shouldn't go into hurting other people. So yeah, I have empathy that everybody in Germany had one radio station to listen to and they had one newspaper to listen to and they had no internet, and every single thing that they heard was propaganda that supported the Nazi agenda. Like, I get that. I understand logically how that happened, but I don't understand how you could possibly commit violence on other people and be like, yeah, this is the thing. This is cool. This makes sense. Like, that doesn't make sense. If somebody is asking you to commit violence against another person, they've lost the cause. Like, I can't imagine. Like, there's no rhyme or reason to me that ever makes sense where I would be like, cool, even all these people who are way on the opposite side of me politically, I'm never like, yeah, let's round them up. Let's deport them. Let's use the military against them. They're fucking radical. We got to just do something extreme and just like, no, there's no scenario to me
Okay.
that ever makes sense.
So what punishment should the American public face for the invasion of Iraq and Afghanistan?
I don't know. I mean, I would start with military leaders. I don't think the American public should be held responsible for that.
So, but a German in Nazi Germany supporting their government.
I mean, there's
What's
a
the
difference
difference?
between a German citizen supporting the Nazi government and
An American citizen.
SS soldier that's fucking firing up gas tanks and sending people to a gas chamber.
Sure. So
There's a real difference.
So the line of compassion changes from citizen to participant.
Yeah.
So a citizen of Nazi Germany who supported the Nazis, you understand, or
Yeah.
you,
I
there's
mean,
different-
they're like
So-
potentially complacent, but they're not actively committing crimes against humanity.
Sure. So what do we do to a soldier who helped invade Iraq?
I mean, they should go to trial. I think it's
The soldiers, all the soldiers that invaded Iraq and Afghanistan should be on trial.
potentially, if there's evidence that exists that you've violated the terms of warfare. I mean, I'm not exactly.
Well, they
this
were
is
there
really
under
not
false pretenses and
This is really
they
not my
invaded a
area of
country.
expertise.
I'm just saying the perspective, like what America did in Vietnam. We protested it. I didn't, but or like Afghanistan and Iraq. Great recent example. Almost the entire Senate, I think, except for Bernie Sanders, said that's a good idea.
Oh, Bernie.
Shout out to the Burn. Like, a group can make a bad decision without being a bad people. I don't think everybody in the Senate who voted yes to invade Iraq should be put on trial for war crimes and put in jail, even though they kind of also should. Like, where is the line? And it's easy to say they fucked up, that everybody there was wrong, but like, we do the same thing. We are living in Nazi Germany and supporting the Nazi government, you and I, right now.
So
The American government does horrible things all over the world. You and I are citizens. We're not rebelling against the government. We're not trying to bring down the government. We are just kind of keeping our heads down and going with the flow.
again, though, I think there are laws that are on the books, and if there's evidence that you violated a law as a citizen and you didn't do your part to stop that, then maybe you should be held accountable. There's soldiers, Israeli soldiers right now that are going into people's homes and they're smashing up their homes and they're breaking all their merchandise and they're mocking each other and like wearing little clothes and doing different things. And like, that's illegal. There's no reason. Yes, you've been assigned to this location. You've been assigned to this patrol. You're supposed to be doing this. You're not supposed to be damaging property to prevent somebody from returning home to it. You know, like there's certain laws that, and now there's video evidence, like those soldiers should probably see the inside of a courtroom and should be held accountable for the extracurriculars that they're doing beyond their military orders.
Okay. Yeah,
You
I
know?
agree. I think that's a good line to draw there. Like, if you're going beyond the scope of societal expectation and what is being asked of you specifically, that's bad. But what if the order is to kill a civilian, shoot an innocent civilian in the face? You do it. That's your order. Are you responsible? Is the government responsible? Is the person at home not doing anything to stop it responsible?
It's hard to decide, isn't it?
It is
hard to decide.
I agree. That's just why I'm asking the question. I think when it comes to free will, what do you think? Like,
May I remind you that philosophy is the only class I
brought it
ever
up.
got a C in. I know.
You brought up free will, and I was surprised you did. We don't have to talk about it if you don't want to.
I mean, I don't know. It's something that's very easy for me to sort of throw my hands up in, like defeat. I don't know.
Well, I mean, what difference does it make? I think is a fair thing to say. If we have free will or not. Did I choose to drink this, or did I actually have no choice?
I didn't ask for this glass of whiskey. I wouldn't have poured it myself.
But it's delicious, and you love it. It's by Whiskey Del Bac, the official sponsor of the Elk Lodge. No, yeah, we've been sort of sipping alcohol all day. We don't need these drinks, but we are.
No, we don't.
But they are delicious, and
sure
we
are.
appreciate them so much.
Always.
The taste of Tucson. But did I choose? Did I have a choice to not be holding this right now and drinking this and talking to you, or was it did I have the free will to not do it? It kind of doesn't matter. And it's
I mean,
it's just a philosophical head scratcher. It's just fun to think about.
Is it? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, you're right. Like if you chop someone's head off, like, you know, you're gonna be charged for swinging that machete.
Well, you still pay the price.
Yeah, like
whether
there's a consequence.
whether you have free will or not,
we really examine how you got here or not. Like butterfly effect or not. Like things happen, and however you got here, you still arrived here at this point, and this is the point that there's no return.
Well, in society, we remove you if you break the rules. Like we've agreed on some rules. We don't all agree, but a majority we agree on the rules. That's why they exist. And if you break the rules, you get separated from society.
So speaking of rules, there were a lot of propositions on the ballot this year that we had to vote on. We took our job very seriously. We did our civic duty. We looked up our judges and we voted whether we wanted them back or not. We looked at all the propositions. It took hours.
We're voting by mail. Yeah, so we voted yesterday. We filled out 5 ballots each. We felt like that was appropriate. Being in Arizona, it's important to overvote, stuff a ballot.
Did several. I also thought it was interesting, like, you know, when a candidate is on the ballot, it's very clear, like they're a Republican, a Democrat, an Independent, Green Party, whatever. But the propositions don't come with that information. Yeah. So that was intriguing to me because it's like a couple of times we found ourselves looking them up, like who is this proposition intended to benefit? Because it was unclear. It was like, who's pushing this agenda? Who am I serving? Am I voting? Is this is this hourly wage cut for restaurant workers helping servers, helping the restaurant owners? Like it was very challenging to tell.
Sometimes you're helping one person, hurting another, and that's kind of like the nature of it. You have to sort of choose.
Or like with this example I just gave, it was like, do you agree to reduce the minimum wage for servers with the guarantee that the restaurant owner can prove that with the addition of their income from tips, they're actually making at least $2 more than the minimum wage? And we're like, okay, well, we're trying to think about this. Okay, it makes sense if you're at a really happening restaurant in a major city, you know, tips are flowing. You're probably like guaranteed to make more than that on a regular basis. You're not really feeling it, the hurt of that. But if you're like in a small, quiet town, tips are inconsistent.
Some slow days.
You have slow days.
Maybe there's 2 people one day.
Like, so that was also tricky. It's not like a universal, oh yeah, this is good for servers, this is bad for servers. It's like, it's probably not a real issue for people in the city, but maybe in the small towns it is. So sort of like, it's a lot to digest, a lot to feel responsible for.
Heavy lies the crown.
Yeah. Jeez.
Yeah, it was tough. And looking up everything and like just the wording, we're like, okay, so it's saying a vote yes means you don't not tip after they earn less than minimum wage plus $2.
I appreciated how they would like, you know, it's like, okay, so if we're going to change it and you vote yes, this is what you're signing up for. And then they'll do like a quick little summary. So to reiterate, a no vote leaves you at this, this, and this. I'm like, okay, yeah, thanks for circling back.
It was hard. It was actually, it took a while. It took hours.
Yeah.
And we did like probably the most basic amount of research. Sometimes we just asked ChatGPT, like, hey, this judge, do they have any controversy around this judge?
Like, what did they vote on abortion?
There was one judge on there who's like, they're known for making controversial abortion decisions. We said, all right, she's out.
Next.
Everyone else, we were like, we'll keep you in.
No, not everyone else. We kept looking for people.
Well, we looked, yes.
Yeah.
But everybody else we chose to retain.
Yeah, one of the things that I found interesting was like about the judges themselves, and it was introducing term limits, which was intriguing because I've often thought of for the Arizona Supreme Court.
Yeah.
And I've thought about that because a lot of times when I see this current Supreme Court justices making decisions, I think, God damn it, how long are we stuck with these diabolical people that don't represent my beliefs? Like, how long am I stuck with them?
I know, but it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? It's like you get someone in who's like Ruth Bader Ginsburg that you like, and then she's there for 4 years and she's out, or whatever the term limit ends up being, and then the current president, fuckity whoever, George Bush gets to stick someone in there. They're not going to be there for as long. Yeah. So I guess, but it's like there's a double-edged sword for everything.
Yeah. I mean, though, it seems like, yes, would it be sad if the glorious, honorable Bernie Sanders could only serve the public for 4 years? Absolutely. But if he was Adolf Hitler, at least he only has 4 years around that we have to deal with his Nazism. And then, blank slate, fresh start, see what else happens.
Yeah, that's why I voted for the term limits. I feel like America as a whole, we've decided we roll the dice with the term limit.
I think I like them.
If you have a dictator or a monarch, every now and then you get a great one.
Yeah.
I'm sure there have been times.
Most of the time we get duds.
Most of the time you get duds. But I'm sure there have been times in history where people say, fuck, life is so good. I can't believe I got to be born while that guy's the king. And he's going to be king for the next 40 fucking years. And he's doing a great job. Like, that has happened. But America, the founding fathers of America, decided that it's not worth the risk. Like, we're going to elect people every 4 years. And they didn't decide this, but it got later decided. You get 2 chances at it. And after that, you're out. Even if they love you. Mm-hmm. People were begging FDR to do a 4th term. FDR did 3 terms.
I think, though, a lot of people across both sides of the aisle are for this idea of like, we're sick of career politicians. We're sick of this idea of people coming to office and just saying what they need to say, doing the things that they need to do to stay in the Senate, or staying involved in Washington in whatever capacity for so long. Like,
right, because you can be a senator.
You can be around for a long time, and it's like
you have to get reelected over and over. Unlike a Supreme Court justice, once you're in till you die.
It's true.
But I think you can be in the Senate if you keep getting reelected, which at least that's at least better. You keep getting reelected.
Sure. Yeah,
versus
if the people like what you're up to, cool. Yeah. Stick around.
Right. That's a lot better than just like a president appointed you, you got in, and now you're in for life till you die.
Yeah. I think there's just seems to be such an abuse of power and things lately that the term limits feel like a necessary step for me. But
yeah, I think so too. The other side of that, which is just kind of the harsh negative of the American political system, those term limit folk, the president, senators, whatever, they're on like a revolving door. Whereas the people running the military, the people running the CIA, the people running the FBI, the people running the Pentagon, that they are there forever. They're long term. And so it's like new president showed up like, great. Yeah. Like you're going to be gone in fucking 4 years. Like we actually run this thing. Yeah. You're a substitute fucking teacher and you're just rolling in.
Yeah. It is
and it's
tricky.
like, they don't have a lot of power. So I think you can remove power from these senators and presidents, but like the power structure is still intact.
Yeah, it's interesting too. Earlier today, we were talking to some guys that are from Mexico, and they were talking about the new president and, you know, kind of the mixed reviews that she's been getting. And I thought it was interesting, just this idea of the monumental shift that happens politically every 6 years there, where a new president comes into office and then they're like, we're going to do everything completely different. And then they turn it upside down. And then how many of those 6 years do you have to spend like completely rebuilding before you actually get anything done? And then anything that's not done by the time the next 6 years comes to end, or like that 6 years comes to end, the new president's going to come and like uproot everything once again. So it seems like that's kind of where America's headed as well, of like, you know, a
whatever
leader on the left comes
that,
and, you know, whether it's an idea that actually makes sense and is moderate or not sort of becomes irrelevant. It's just something that the left stood for, or something that the right stood for. And so now I can't stand for it. And then it's like,
sure,
okay, we're going to scrap that. And this is what I'm going to do instead. And it becomes just a mission to become like an obstructionist to whatever was going on. So that's super sad, because that to me feels just dangerous. It feels really dangerous.
Yeah, I think it sucks. It's
Did you see Trump on Joe Rogan? You're a big Rogan listener.
I started listening to it, yeah.
What'd you find so far?
I'm like 20 minutes into it. It's funny, like I opened my Spotify and it was like Joe Rogan, Donald Trump as the guest, and I was like, oh boy, here we go. It finally happened. It's been talked about for a number of years. And anyway, it finally happened. I've listened to Donald Trump on other podcasts. I never fear information. I never fear hearing someone speak. I'm going to listen to them, and if they say something I like, I'll take that. If they say things I don't like, it's like, I'm not worried I'm going to be tricked or something like that. Like, I don't know. Anyway.
Did he say anything
worth to be honest,
hearing
so far,
20 minutes?
I'm 20 minutes in. So far, it's my favorite Donald Trump interview because
you're sleeping on the couch.
It's I just farted. First fart on air. Maybe?
Awkward.
Sorry, it had to come. Something about
Trump just makes you full of shit.
Gets me no, but like, first of all, Joe Rogan's a little bit on his dick. to be honest, like, especially lately, he's like, oh, the whole machine's against you and blah, blah, blah. And like, oh, like, it's so crazy. The View loved you before you got elected, but as soon as you're the president, suddenly they don't like you. Like, as if that's like the machine making some concerted effort against Donald Trump. Like, no. Before he was president, he was a celebrity and he was good for ratings. Once he's president, his crazy ideas aren't just good for ratings. They're an actual threat to your life.
Criteria shifts.
It's a huge difference when you're talking to someone who's the president of the United States. So anyway, but so far I like it. I mean, he's so far asked, like, what is it? Like, just asking really human questions. Like, okay, you win president. Like, you've never held office. Suddenly you're the president of the United States. Like, is that a surreal? What is that like? Walking into the White House, you're the president of the United States suddenly. And like, you know, and then Trump kind of answers the question for a second and then goes off on his like, yeah, they're so mean to us. We do our best. And he's like, no, like, but everybody knows that. I'm just trying to find out about like, what is that feeling? What is that like? So far, I think Joe Rogan's doing a very good job of interviewing a controversial figure. Joe Rogan likes Donald Trump and I don't. And so I disagree with a lot of his like speaking sort of to benefit Donald Trump. But so far I'm enjoying the interview.
It's interesting though, because I am on a relatively far left algorithm, admittedly. But the clips I've seen of Joe Rogan have been like him kind of giving Trump a hard time, not being all up in his business.
Maybe
like, I saw some clips of him like sort of mocking Donald Trump, being like, so do you have a scar on your ear? Like, where? And like mocking how little there was on his ear. Like, I've just seen little tiny clips popping up, but not Joe Rogan like super bowing down to him.
No, not bowing down to him. I haven't got to that part, but it's like...
And like one scene too, he was like, so how was the election stolen? And he's like kept interrupting and interjecting, like, with what evidence? With what evidence? And Trump couldn't deliver one piece of coherent information about that. But
and you know, I'm not on Rogan's dick as hard as some, but he's a great interview and he's a great conversationalist. He's really good at talking to someone, finding common ground, and being able to like just chat casually.
I wish he would just know his place and
what's his place? Well,
moderate fear factor. That's all I want from
Let me finish
Joe
my
Rogan.
point though. So I think these first 20 minutes, like objectively, if you want to get anywhere in an interview with Donald Trump, you're going to have to begin that interview on his side.
Sure.
If you start combatant, it's going to be a 30-minute interview and you're going to get nowhere. Yes. If you begin with, I like you, I think you're smart, I think you're great, I think you have good ideas, blah, 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 then you can kind of guide that to like, but what evidence?
Right.
You can't just come out with what evidence. So
no.
I feel like in a lot of ways, that's what I'm you know, as I said, I'm 20 minutes into the interview. So I've been sitting there hoping like this is kind of a tactic. But even when Donald Trump's not on the show, Joe Rogan's a little bit on Donald Trump's dick in a sort of silly way. Joe Rogan has kind of fell for the like anti-woke stance.
You don't say.
Which like wokeness has its flaws, but not every single thing in the world is like the woke mind virus attacking free Illuminati speech. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, so anyway, I think, but so far, like I said, I'm enjoying it and I'm looking forward to him addressing those things. And yeah, if like the election, I think is the biggest mistake Donald Trump ever made. And to me, the most concerning thing about him is that.
What do you mean the election?
Denying the results of losing the election. To this day, denying it. Even after
it's a big
single
deal.
Like you can question an election, you can ask for a recount, you can ask for a trial. But when we go through the entire process, Republicans running the process, Republicans hoping to find out that you're right just cannot come to that conclusion. You are not right. You did not win. Still denying it. Like,
and inciting violence around it.
Yes.
People lost their lives because he can't admit to a fault.
Yeah.
What mistakes he's made.
It's the worst thing to me, the biggest threat about him. I'm not a woman. I'm not an immigrant, but that is what scares me the most. And it makes me concerned. It's the biggest
umbrella for sure, I think.
Yeah. And half the country believes him, which is even scarier.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I fear he gets in power and 51% of the country says, stay in power till you die, do a third or fourth term.
Yikes.
And he would say, yes, I will do that. If you guys want me to do it, I'll do it. Versus what a true patriot would say, the system is important and I will not do more than 2 terms. So maybe he will. And I will be so relieved if Donald Trump wins and leaves office after that term. I will be so relieved.
Yeah,
I hope they don't kill him.
Count on that.
Killing him would also be a mistake. Killing Julius Caesar was the end of the Roman Empire. Began their end. They were a republic. They were voted for, like it was a like run by the Senate. Then you get this guy, Julius Caesar. He's so fucking popular and just kept accumulating power. And then he made himself head of the Senate. And then he kept going up. And everyone was like, shit, he's going to make himself the fucking dictator for life. That is so scary. If this man becomes dictator, like the whole republic will fall. So the Senate fucking said, hey, Julius, can we talk to you? And they fucking stabbed him. And they killed him. And the power vacuum that left after he was dead, the next ruler was the emperor. And from then on till the end of the Roman Empire, that was the beginning of the Roman Empire. Before that, it was the Roman Republic. So Caesar never became dictator, never became the emperor. He was just feared to be so popular that he would try. So they killed him. And that left a power vacuum and opened up that. After that, we had dictators and emperors.
That he's so popular that he would try. It's that he doesn't peacefully pass on power.
But he is so popular.
Kind of different.
How many people? What percentage of America thinks he? Like, it's a verifiable fact. He lost the election. What percent of the American public does not believe that because he doesn't believe it? More than 30%. More than 40, maybe pushing 50.
I'm not going to advocate for murdering the man, but
it's a mistake is the problem. I hate him. I don't like him. Like, I don't like him. I don't want him to like be a thing, but to kill him is a mistake and will have the opposite effect. Making him a
martyr would probably have the unintended consequence of making people support him even more ruthlessly, which that would be.
Yeah, I think it would lead to a proper civil war, and we would look back on it as a huge mistake.
Well, we got 9 days left until the election, and I, for one, cannot wait to have this behind us. I don't know what's going to happen.
I mean, it's not going to be behind us in 9 days.
Frankly, I'm scared either way.
Same.
I'm scared of retaliation if Harris wins, and I'm just scared of what my day-to-day life will look like for the next 4 years if Trump wins.
So we're stuffing ballots. This is what people in Arizona do. We all fill out
Don't say
500
like this.
Democratic ballots. We stuff them. We put them on donkeys. I have a Chinese guy that came to me. He told me this is what I got to do. And he said, it's very important.
I had a Russian guy come to me.
I'll tell you what.
He said, I can electronically submit 17 ballots for you. And I said, do it.
Oh, you tricked me for a second.
I know. I was believable.
I was like, he did what?
No, we have election integrity. God damn it. We have one ballot. We signed it. We submitted it. We're not even putting it in the mail. That's how much we distrust everything right now. We are going to fucking put it in to the ballot box ourselves, folks.
Right. We're going to hand deliver all 15 of them.
Nobody's going to snatch our ballots up, bucko.
What do you think about, like, Okay, you should have to be a citizen to vote in an election. What do you think about that? Do you agree, or yes or no?
Yeah, I guess so. Sure.
You got to be a citizen of a country
but
to vote.
I think Puerto Rico should be allowed to vote.
Well, but then they're going to get taxed. Puerto Rico doesn't pay income tax.
Well, I think they should probably vote and pay taxes.
So some of Puerto Rico say, we don't want to pay fucking taxes.
I don't want to pay taxes either.
Should Puerto Rico get to decide that, or should you and I decide that?
No, I think the people of Puerto Rico should decide.
Yeah, they should vote on it like every term.
But when like they got hit with a hurricane and then Trump just threw paper towels at him, was like, "You'll be fine. Here's some bounty." Like, I think maybe we could do better by the people of Puerto Rico.
I agree, but also they don't pay taxes. There's like, then you in some ways you get what you pay for.
But you can't just be like a colonial power enforcing your will, and then like that's sort of like the autonomy that they've held on to. You can't really blame them for wanting whatever semblance of autonomy they can get from the U.S. government. But yeah, I mean, it's highly contentious.
But
I don't know.
They're saying we don't pay money into the American government. We don't benefit the American economy. But if there's a problem for us, we want their taxpayers to help us.
I think they do probably benefit the American economy.
How so?
I mean, they're a port in the Caribbean. They probably help with transport. They probably export goods.
It's a benefit to us to have it. Otherwise, we wouldn't have it.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. And I'm just playing the devil's asshole.
I mean, I'm sure it's highly debatable among all the people in Puerto Rico what the right course of action is there. I'm certainly not
Okay, so
I don't know.
You should be a citizen of the United States to vote in the United States elections. Just like you can't go to Spain and vote, or you can't go to Mexico and vote. You're not a citizen.
Yeah.
How should you have to prove your citizenship when you vote?
I don't know. Driver's license, passport, mailing address.
Great. I agree.
Any of the above?
Yeah, I agree.
Blood, firstborn child.
Great.
Sample of the placenta. I don't know.
Wow,
what do you
placenta
want?
sample.
What do you want from us?
But yeah, I agree, and I would love an ironclad election. That's so hard to debate, or just harder to debate, hard to fraud, hard to manipulate.
Yeah, I mean,
like we have 300 million citizens. Let's say we should have 300 million votes. I'm just saying, like, it should be measurable.
Yeah. What's hard is access to voting. Like a lot of people are attacking the mail-in ballots, but like, for example, the U.S. military has used mail-in ballots for a long time and nobody really ever had a problem with it until very recently. And now it's just highly contentious and whatever. But with all that said, IT issues, I think that concern is real. I think there could be more room for sketchiness to happen as things go more and more digital. But also, like, how do you keep it fair? Not everybody can afford, not all those zeros out there can afford to take off work and go stand in line all day to make sure that they cast a vote.
Get it together, you piece of shit. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it should obviously be a national holiday where nobody works on voting day. And
yeah, what the fuck? Why is it not? That's so stupid.
It's crazy.
That's so stupid.
It's to oppress poor people being able to vote. I mean, what else would be the reason?
Yeah, I think it is, unfortunately, probably what that is.
Why? I mean, why else? It seems so obvious. In Argentina, you have to vote. It's a law.
Is that right?
Yeah. Which,
I kind of don't like that, though.
I don't like that either. I was like, you're going to force me to vote? Like, then fuck you. I'm not voting. But here, it's like, oh, you want to stop me from voting? Like, guess what? I'm going to fucking vote. I'm going to lose my job just to fucking vote, bitch. Yeah. Yeah, it's like you have to vote. I believe. This is what people told me in Argentina. But, these Argentinians, what do they know?
They know how to grill.
Oh, yes, they do. Man, we got big plans here at the Elk Lodge. We've mapped out where a sauna is going to go.
I can't stop him. I'm like, we live in a fucking sauna. We live in a sauna.
Okay, here's my arguments pro sauna. In the heat, you step out of a sauna, the weather suddenly does not feel so hot. Sauna is 195 degrees. You're going to walk out and feel a chill in the air on a 112 degree day. Second, sauna, more than anything ever studied, is the healthiest thing you can do.
It's good for cardiovascular health, whatever.
It's good. Like, all cause mortality is dramatically decreased if you sauna
Yeah, that's cool.
3 or 5 days a week.
I just like a steam room.
Okay.
We already have a sauna. We live in it.
We'll use the rocks and we'll create steam, you know?
There's no water in the sauna.
What?
There's no steam in a sauna.
But you throw, because you throw water on the rocks and that creates a quick jolt of steam.
I don't like about the sauna when it's so hot that my nose cracks. You know that feeling?
Yeah.
It's just like up your nose. Like that.
So anyway, we got the saunas coming.
But one thing
we're
we
going to build an
can agree
Argentinian grill.
On is the Argentinian
Honestly,
grill.
it's an Uruguayan grill is that we're going to do because that has the little cage for the wood
I don't care.
to burn.
It could be either way.
I don't care what you're saying. I don't care.
I don't care. It could be either
Let
way.
me stop right there. I
Argentinian,
don't care.
Uruguayan, whatever way.
I think it's technically an Uruguayan grill.
But what's cool about it
The asado.
is that do I remember this correctly? So you burn the wood over here in the basket. But
That's
not,
the Uruguayan style.
Not like under the meat and whatever. And then you transport those coals and embers
Yes.
to the other side.
So here's the difference. It's a brick cage, brick like cavern with a grate on it. In Argentina, you start a fire and you push that fire to the corner. Now, in the corner is the hottest. Over here is the chillest. You find a spot where you can hold your hand for over 8 seconds, or about 8 seconds exactly, actually. That's where you put the meat. That's how the Argentinian grill works. The asado. In the Uruguayan grill,
Just punched myself.
in the Uruguayan grill, we're going to talk about grills for about 20 more minutes, then we're going to stop. In the Uruguayan grill, there's like a vertical kind of cage. You stack it with wood. You light that wood on fire. As that wood burns and turns to little embers, those embers fall off and fall beneath that cage. You grab those with the shovel and use those. Those go under your grate, and that's how you cook your meat. So it's just, I like it. It's improved.
So yeah, we're going to build one of those. Which country wins? We should have a field day to find out.
Like at the Olympics.
Yeah.
Ah.
And we'll see who's going to take the cake.
But we're going to have to build it with like
Uruguay
bricks
or
or something.
Argentina.
It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, and I want an Adobe oven, pizza oven.
Yeah.
And we'll see. We'll see what happens. But projects will be had.
And I ordered the paint for this room.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, we're behind. But
We don't gotta
it was
apologize.
hard to get a proper hex code match. Home Depot really should step up their game because you can't just bring a hex code to Home Depot and say, can I have this color? They'll say no.
Yeah, so like in Photoshop, you know, when you like choose a color on that big gradient of colors, and then there's like 6 digits down at the bottom, like A4, 9X, whatever. I went to Home Depot with that code. I said, I want this color. And they said that I can just find the closest match, but I can't give it to you.
Rude.
By this. And it's like, I don't understand. And they're like, we can match the color. If you bring me the paint, I can match it. I was like,
But I don't
you know the
have the
color.
paint.
You know what it is. Just match it. They couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And so I threw my drink in that guy's face and I
Right.
said, fuck you. And then I went online.
America.
I said, this is America.
We
Trump
demand
2020.
better.
And so then I went online and there's a website where you can order by hex color.
What was that website?
Encyclocolorpedia or something like that.
Encyclopedia. We love you.
The Elk Lodge is brought to you by Delbach Whiskey and Encyclocolorpedia. But anyway, the paints, it was expensive, but
Oh, yeah.
thousands. But
Okay, we're
it
in the
needs to be
1%.
perfect. Like, because I was telling the guy, he was like, this is close. I was like, bro, this is like a branded color.
Yeah, close won't cut it.
14 people watch this show and they know our green and our
know.
pink.
I didn't actually know our green. I thought it was much lighter.
We are not going
I thought it was
to
this green. It
sacrifice
is
quality.
not this green.
It's more like that.
Whoops. Anyways, so
anyway,
that'll be exciting.
Paint's coming, sauna's coming. We're living the dream. We're having a good time. We love Tucson,
The end
and
of
we love you.
the end of democracy could be upon us.
This could be the end of the republic.
It's a lot. There's a lot coming up. So be sure to circle back and tune in next week for another round of ridiculousness.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Let's just Let's just call it.
Look out for me inside.